City Council on Monday, March 20th at 6 p.m. I have a lot of slips up here, and I appreciate that, and they will be called in order. Darlene, you want to call the roll, please?
Councilmember Cervantes.
Here.
Councilmember Manley.
Here.
Councilmember Molina.
I'd like to excuse her if it's all right. She has some personal problems.
Mayor Pro Tem Hewitt.
Here.
And Mayor Davis.
I'm here. And let it be known we have City Manager Cobo, City Attorney Barrow, City Clerk Curtis, Finance Director Reed, Planning Director is not here right now, Lucia, and we can excuse her. Public Works Director Monson, City Engineer Thornton, Fire Chief O'Connell, and Sheriff Captain Casellas. Thank you for being here tonight. The Pledge of Allegiance. You want to go ahead and lead us, John?
Please stand. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Communications from the public. First on the list, we have Michelle Morton.
I was here the last meeting giving you guys an update. Giving you an update as to what was going on the old Calimesa golf course. Since then, some more issues have come up. We now have ATV riders, three-wheelers driving through there, and we have an older, heavy-set woman in a white truck that comes with her saw and saws up some wood, pops it in the back of her truck, and goes. And we have some teenage young men who have decided to build a little love shack in the tree because they plan on bringing some young girls there. I hear everything that they talk about, so this is what's going on. We've still got shenanigans going on, and I know the sheriffs are busy, but Friday they were there, Saturday were there, so I went down and I took pictures. I took one of my neighbors to see what they were doing in the tree. Now this is a big, huge, beautiful tree, and they're destroying it. I've got pictures of the building there. It's got human excrement all over it. They've destroyed things, they've ripped things to pieces. It's just horrible down there. And there's no reason for this. So I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to the owners, but I really feel like something really needs to be done. I'm concerned because now we're getting people coming up into our part of our complex that don't belong up there. So I'm really concerned for our safety. And you know that if one of these young teenage boys falls out of that tree and gets hurt or dies, you better believe they're going to come suing somebody.
Property owner. Thank you. Adam, I can't.
That's all right.
Aventor? Is that how you say that? Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, my name is Adam Eventop, Public Affairs Manager for SoCal Gas, otherwise known as Mr. Popular right now. Actually, first off, I want to take a moment before I give a quick update on gas bills. I wanted to say thank you to the city and its city staff for the outstanding level of cooperation, collaboration, and help we received a couple weeks back during an incident in which we lost pressure in our system. We are very grateful to the city and the city manager and its staff for just an outstanding level of help that we received from them. Anyway, Moving back to gas bill update. If your bill was, say, $300 in January, it should drop to by about 80% to about $100 in March. It is progressively coming down from a record high in January that was due to record levels of demand and a variety of other reasons. 3 minutes does not allow me to go really into too much detail, but I'm happy to give a presentation at any time. But SoCalGas does not set the price of gas. We set the price of what the service that we provide in bringing you gas. So we buy it on the open market. If gas goes through the roof, we all pay. And that's what happened in January. Anyway, if you haven't already received it, you should be getting a refund from the CPUC of $50.77. It's a credit that we all pay into a fund that we all pay into, and we're getting that money back. If you haven't received it, you should get it on this bill. Also, we have suspended collection activities, and we also want to inform the public that there is help to be found at our website, www.socalgas.com /assistance. So if you need winter money-saving tips like turning down your thermostat, turning down your water heater, washing in cold water or other tips, you can find it there. Or if you want to apply for income qualified programs such as a medical baseline program or level pay program, which is not income qualified, we all can sign up for that, which flattens out your bills over the course of a year. Definitely recommend that. Anyway, we also announced a $10 million shareholder-funded effort in which $5 million will go to the Gas Assistance Fund, which is managed by the United Way through the county, as well as $4 million to relaunch our Fueling Our Communities. That's a $4 million grant across our system for food banks, $1 million for restaurant care support, in other words, grants to restaurants. And as I said, for more information, please visit www.socalgas.com or call 800-427-2200. Thank you.
Hey, thank you for your time and for the information.
Thank you.
Holly Jacobs.
Hello to the mayor and the city council. Hi, my name's Holly Jacobs. I live in Sharondale Mesa Senior Park. I spoke to you last month asking you to not approve the warehouses. I spoke to you about the emergency vehicles being delayed because of the extra traffic. I saw exactly what will happen in person last week. I was going home after taking my dog to the vet on Calimesa Boulevard. The 10 freeway going into Beaumont was backed up, so lots of cars were on Calimesa Boulevard. When I reached Sandalwood, a fire truck and a medic turned onto Calimesa Boulevard in front of myself and a pickup. So we were behind the fire truck and the medic, and there was a long line of people in front of them. The cars on Calimesa Boulevard were scrambling to move out of the way, but there's a lot of places where there's not much wider than 2 lanes on Calimesa Boulevard, and cars were almost hitting each other, trying to pull over onto the shoulder. And some tried to go like a little further, like instead of pulling over immediately, they went a little further trying to get to a wider area. But some were pulled on the dirt. There's little like asphalt curbs in some areas. Some of them were trying to pull up over that. Some almost hit the trees that are along there because they were trying to get out of the way. The fire truck and the medic were driving down the center of the 2 lanes, but sometimes they had to slow down waiting for cars to get out of their way. There was also a couple of lawn guys with their truck and trailer. So the fire truck and the medic were delayed at least a minute or so driving across Calimesa Boulevard because of all the traffic. It will be like that almost daily if the warehouses go in with all the extra traffic. Eventually, it will cost someone their life because that minute will be the difference.
Thank you. Lynn Ernest.
Mr. Mayor and council members, my name is Lynn Ernst. I live in Sharondale, and I am opposed to the proposed warehouses in the Oak Valley North project. There are a number of residents in Sharondale with respiratory problems. Being kept awake with semis coming and going will not help them at all. They will be breathing diesel fuel fumes, which will aggravate the problems they already have. The building of high-density residential units will impact the water problems we have been having for years. This year's rain will help, but what about next year? The traffic problem will only get worse with the warehouses and residential units. The semis and other traffic will be a problem with all the roundabouts that are being built. I have seen the trouble with some of the roundabouts when semis and cars are trying to navigate them. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Wright?
James Wright, advocate for sensitive receptors at Rancho Calimesa. On 3/19/23, Southern California, Edison cut the power for 16 hours, endangering the lives of Rancho Calimesa residents. After the sun went down on a cold February night, no one from Edison took the initiative to help our residents when they knew or should have known that because of their actions, it compromised the health and safety of our seniors when they went over the time that they said it would take. With the park blacked out, it put our seniors in danger because without electricity, and some who depend on medical devices were vulnerable, and with no heat, their health was put at risk. They could not keep their daily, nightly schedules or prepare a proper dinner for their family, or were put in danger of falling in the dark. Caregivers and concerned family members contacted the city to express their dissatisfaction on the situation, and it appears that no one from the city or Edison did anything to support the community of Rancho Calimesa. After becoming aware of the fact that Edison did not care enough to provide security at the front of the park, I contacted Riverside County Sheriff Dispatch and requested a sheriff to orbit the park, as it was now an easy target for crime. I spoke with the site supervisor, Mr. Bowen, who said his crew pulled 1 mile of larger diameter power line and reframed all the power poles, and he could not have Edison heat up the line until multiple crews were done doing their part upgrading the electrical infrastructure. He also stated that it was taking longer because developer Shop-Off's road paving crew made it difficult for his crew to do their job. Again, disruption of Rancho Calimesa because of the warehouses. As you know, I advocate for the residents, especially the sensitive receptors, and they're telling me that they don't appreciate being left in the dark. They're against the warehouses and do not trust the mayor and the city council, who allegedly are secretly sold out to the developers and their influence. I feel that we as a society need to look out for our young and old, whole and infirm, who deserve our respect, and give them dignity and peace of mind that they have earned. More needs to be done.
Thank you for your opinion, Mr. Wright. Is it Mary Elrod?
My name is Mary Elias. I'm speaking for my family and my neighbors as well. I live in Summer Wind Trails community. The crime rate in Calimesa has increased recently. With a crime rate of 40 per 1,000 residents, Calimesa has one of the highest crime rates, which is higher than the national average rate of crime. One's chance of becoming a victim of either violent or property crime here is 1 in 25. Calimesa is growing so fast. in regards to the development and to the population as well. But we are not planning for the needed service in advance. I have experienced last week a burglary. My 2 cars were stolen on the same day. I mean, the thieves broke into my garage twice on the same night. The fact that we have not enough police officers in coverage is really scary. It took 16 minutes for the deputies to come, which was a high priority call, a suspect on property. Unfortunately, that's not the end of my story. Actually, those guys came back to my house and broke again into my garage to take the second car just after the deputies left my house, which is exactly 12 minutes later. And the second time I called a dispatch, the police officers were on site 17 minutes later. They were covering an emergency call nearby, and while they were at my house for the second time, they got another emergency call, which was the 4th dispatch from our community in less than 2 hours. Those gang know the fact that we don't have enough deputies on duty. We have kids, and I live right next to Summer Wind School, and we see suspect cars driving around in our community. I'm asking for a safer community and for hiring more deputies. I need to feel safe. I'm supporting my neighbors too, asking to stop building warehouses in Calimesa, which will bring more and more crime. Thanks for listening, and I wish my voice will be heard. Thank you.
It was heard. Thank you. Mike Barron.
Good evening, council and staff. Mike Barron, 670 West Avenue L. I have a great appreciation to give you for our fire department, our public works department, and South Mesa Water. Sunday morning, we had a massive water main break, and it was taken out the street. And as I was on the phone calling the non-emergency number for the fire department, they already pulled up. And then an hour later, we had our people here from our public works services and South Mesa Water working on that thing. They worked on it all day. Got it all done by about 1 o'clock, got out there and cleaned up the roadway, took all the rock and everything out of there, and I was real happy because the cars we were getting into for our business were having a hard time getting up there because it was so dirty and rocky and stuff, but the sweeper took care of everything for us. So I just wanted to come say thank you to the fire department, to the staff that we have in our public works, to say thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Diane Delana.
City Council, Danae Delaney. Mayor Davis, I appreciate that you said that it does mean something when we say something, no matter what. I just would like to know, no matter what, no matter how developers stay ahead of government, no matter what toxic source points are fostered through by staff. I'd like to know about the Bircher signs and that yellow approved. A business in Calimesa used bright yellow on their building, and I said to the owner, could you have picked a different color? In the Summer Winds specific plan, colors are to be compatible with the elements in the environment. Bright or non-earth tone colors are encouraged, except as accents. There is a 5-story yellow section of the wall on the Birchers rendering. Are we creating 2 standards, yellow for the Birchers and not for others? The yellow is not compatible with indigenous elements. If approved, our requirements did not meet the Birchers criteria, and you changed the plan for them. On the freeway sign, we see Calimesa on the bottom, and the Birchers logo as well. You've put the crown above the town. From Redlands to Ontario, wherever large and industrial warehouses and truck stops are, the crime rates are high. Look at the crime maps. It looks like we're already saying caution with these colors. I speak for everyone who can't be here because tomorrow they rise and shine to go to work. I hear from them now, truck drivers and warehouse workers too. They moved here to get away from the industrial areas, and they know what they deserve. They don't want industrialization here for congested lungs, congested local and regional traffic. that causes longer emergency response times, noise, light pollution, more crime, and low community morale. Our system of entitlements is biased. Full disclosure, there's nothing new here. City councils all over the Inland Empire have chosen out-of-town developers and their investors over their own communities again and again. Tonight, I ask you to create an ordinance banning all toxic source points, all future warehouses, all vehicle, truck, and trailer storage facilities, and all truck stop-capable travel centers. Make a choice for your residents and our city mission instead of entitling the entitled. Stop industrializing our town. Pass a full ban no matter what. We are your community. Choose us. How much noise are we going to need to make for you to choose us?
Thank you. Marlene Davis.
Good evening, Mayor Davis and City Council members. My name is Marlene Davis. I live at 9487 Dale Mesa in Sharondale. Deja vu. A few years ago, some of you, well, actually probably none of you except Mayor Davis, because it looks like he's the only member that's still here that was on the City Council at that time. Is that right, Mayor Davis?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. You've hung in there. The only time I'm here is about warehouses, and I understand they're needed. And I understand also that the San Bernardino area is considered actually the ideal place, and the Riverside County, actually just the Empire area, because of where we are in relation to the Long Beach and the Los Angeles port of entry. We have a lot of merchandise and products coming from China, as you well know. I'm hoping that all of you are looking way into the future when you look at these warehouses. They're valuable, but for how long? If you're listening to the news, we may very well be in a war with China. And then what? We won't be getting our products then, and I hope these warehouses won't be sitting empty like the Redlands and San Bernardino Carousel Mall that have graffiti and homeless people moving in. I found an article, I don't know if you read the Press Enterprise, but there was an article that I'd like to give to all of you that's very informative. I've often wondered, with all due respect, what qualifies you to be on the City Council. And I was afraid to hear that's exactly what it is to be on Sharondale's Board of Directors, and that you run for office and you win and then you're on council. How do you get educated on how a city should be run and what is good for a city and how much? I'm often wondered about that, and concerned too. We have developers that have been here for years, and they're not stupid. They have sat in the back of this, and one may be here now because I don't recognize them, but they've sat here always interested in what's going on in Calimesa because they own a lot of land. It means a lot of money for them, and their time has finally come. John O'Hannon, William Shopoff, they have been here for years. They deserve to make a profit on what they've invested in, but we have to be fair with everybody, not just the developers, not just the residents, and you have to be very, very careful about where you put these warehouses. Thank you.
Yeah, if you could give that article to Darlene here, she could get us.
Yeah, okay. Can I give this to each one?
No, give it to her.
Okay.
Thank you. Renee?
Good evening, Mayor Davis and City Council members. My name is Renee Canody, and I live in JP Ranch and volunteer on a city commission. I chose to volunteer here in Calimesa because I wanted to help Calimesa grow into a family-friendly city. When I heard that the city wants to bring more warehouses and a truck stop, I knew I needed to speak up. The residents want parks, hiking trails, and family-friendly amenities. Why not build a medical office building, perhaps a trade school, or higher learning university extension campuses? As an educational administrator, I would love to see the youth in Calimesa have the opportunity to dream of a future beyond high school. Warehouses and truck stops bring crime, pollution, and traffic. It would be dangerous to have those near homes, near the retirement communities, and near all of the new housing developments that are being built. It would be dangerous to have this near Mesa View Middle School, where my son will go to school next year. The traffic down there, I heard, is already a nightmare. Please reconsider your options. We have an abundance of beautiful rural land around us. That was why we chose to move to Calimesa. Please don't give in to greedy developers who are waving dollar bills your way and allow them to warehouse our land. Think of the residents and all of us who elected you and choose you to represent us here in Calimesa. Please make wise decisions and help us save Calimesa. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Jacob? You want to pull the mic down to your, there you go.
Hi, my name is Jacob Canody, and I live in JP Ranch. Instead of warehouses and a truck stop, can you build a bowling alley or a miniature golf center? How about a movie theater? We need more fun themes here in Calimesa. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you for coming.
Mr. Mayor, can I make a comment on that real fast?
Go for it.
As an avid bowler, I'd be good with a bowling alley. Just
Well, you can come out on my lawn and you can throw your ball.
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple I need to read.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
To Calimesa City Council, my name is Nicole McKay. I'm a resident of JP Ranch, an asthmatic, and also a truck driver for UPS. I moved to Calimesa from Rancho Cucamonga for the open space and clean air. I'm afraid that with the building of warehouses, the open space and clean air will be but a memory. I love our city, and as a truck driver, I know that these warehouses will ruin what the city has. Please don't let our city be invaded by these warehouses. As a truck driver, I spend a lot of time at truck stops all across the country. I see a lot of drug use, prostitution, homelessness at these locations. In an effort to help combat human trafficking at truck stops, I'm a member of Truckers Against Trafficking. With the amount of human trafficking and crime at these truck stops, I would never imagine building one anywhere near a school. Please don't allow a truck stop in our community, as it will bring more negative impacts than positive. I have never seen a crime-free truck stop, and I have been to hundreds of them. Please protect our community and the amazing city that we have. Say no to warehouses and truck stops. Thank you for your time. And the other one. Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, City of Calimesa, we are writing to express our concern over the proposed warehouses in Calimesa. It seems that the Planning Commission and the City Council have fallen under the spell of developers who, by their own admission, seek only to increase their personal investment portfolios so that their wealth can be passed on to their heirs. Evidence has shown that they have used false or outdated data from the Air Quality Management District, or AQMD, to not only hoodwink you, but to also minimize the unhealthy and negative impact these warehouses and the resulting truck traffic will have on our community. Calimesa is blessed with rolling green hills, open meadows, and sweeping vistas of our local mountains. What a travesty that time after time, the Planning Commission and City Council have approved amendments to our city's general plan, instituted zoning changes, and granted conditional use permits to accommodate developers like John Ohanian, associated with Terra Verde LLC out of San Diego County, Bircher Development Group out of Orange County, Mr. Shopoff, associated with Mesa Verde Ventures LLC out of Orange County. As we were driving along Interstate 10 recently, we were at once both overcome by Calimesa's natural beauty and heartbroken that, for reasons unknown to nearly all of us, you want to destroy it by awarding greedy developers anything they ask for, carte blanche. Here's an idea. Instead of allowing Calimesa to become just one more community destroyed by the blight of endless warehouses lining the I-10 corridor from the desert to the seashore, why not let Calimesa be, quote, the pause that refreshes, end quote. A jewel nestled among its natural surroundings, a place where when people pass by on their trek, either eastbound or westbound, they will say, wow, it's really beautiful here. This is a city that really cares about its environment. This is a place I'd like to live so that my family can thrive. As our elected representatives, we expect you to safeguard our community and its natural resources, not give it away to the highest bidder. Give us some intelligently and wisely planned communities and amenities that will serve the residents, retail shopping, restaurants, parks, trails, wildlife corridors, and habitats, all planned with residents and visitors in mind, not the developers. Please, no more warehouses, no more truck stops. Sincerely, Frank and Evie Allen.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to get a motion to approve the agenda if I could.
I'll make that motion. I'd like to approve the agenda.
Second. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent calendars, is there anything here that somebody'd like to pull, or they want to go ahead and make a motion?
Oh, sir. I'll make a motion to approve the entirety of the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we move on to Chamber of Commerce reports. Boy, you must have got the short straw tonight, huh?
Well, you know, we're sharing our duties at the Chamber. Just want to report that the breakfast meeting we had last week went really well. We had Ron Duncan from the San Gregorio Pass Water Agency. He did a presentation on honeybees. For those of you that don't know, Ron started being a beekeeper when he was 12 years old. And he gave a story about how that happened and how he ended up capturing his first hive, and it was quite interesting. He brought live bees to the breakfast. I kept telling the folks at the breakfast that he was going to let them go when it was time for everybody to leave. But it ended up being a good breakfast on it. It was very interesting hearing about the bees. I have a neighbor next door to me that has probably 40 hives in the avocado grove. And yes, in the summertime, it's difficult with the grandkids, but we appreciate the fact that his bees are also pollinating my trees. So next month, we will be at the Haas Bistro on the second Tuesday, which is April 11th, 7:30 a.m. And Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco will be our guest speaker. There is a $25 fee for breakfast, which will be provided, food and drinks that come along with that ticket to get in. Due to a scheduling conflict, we had to postpone our Night at the Races event, which was supposed to be held last week. The new date is October 21st, and it'll be held at the Plantation of the Lake in the Recreation Room. Night of the Races is the signature event for our raising funds for our scholarship program. The scholarship tea will be is scheduled for May 25th, and that event's going to be held at the Edward Dean Museum at 1:30 in the afternoon. The event will be is the big one for acknowledging our scholarship winners for this year at our local high schools and what do they call those? Continuation schools. There are sponsorship available at both of those events. We will be having a multi-chamber mixer on April 19th. That's a Wednesday at the Noble Creek Community Center. The Beaumont Cherry Valley Parks Foundation is hosting that, and it is free. It's for networking, and you should RSVP through the website, through the chamber website. Currently, we installed 2 new members to our chamber, And we have 5 membership renewals, bringing our totals to 145 total members.
Very good.
Any questions for the chamber?
Tony, did you say that was April 11th when the sheriff was going to be
Yes,
at the
April
Hospice-Bistro?
11th.
Are you requesting any prior RSVPs or anything?
Yes, if you
Okay.
could, just go to our website, the calimesachamber.com,
Okay.
and RSVP for that.
And you could pay a deposit there for that
Yes.
as well?
Yes.
All right.
So,
Thank you, Tony.
okay. Is that it?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Police chief, comments and reports.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. From this report will be from March 6th to March 19th. We had a total of 295 calls. 25 of those were traffic-related. We had 10 thefts, 3 of those were felonies. We did have 5 stolen vehicles. We recovered 1. So we had 3 frauds, 3 batteries, 2 domestic violence, 2 unattended deaths, 1 sexual assault, 1 drug arrest, and 1 burglary. Subject to your questions, that's all I have.
Questions?
Yeah, thank you, Captain Salas. I have a brief question. During public comments, one of our residents talked about an incident at their home. Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And she also referenced some statistics about that she implied that crime is on the rise here. In your opinion, is that accurate? Can you comment on that?
Well, crime, I believe the crime is up a little bit this year. To that extent, I would have to get back with you. It's not, it is higher than it was last year. I think the calls for services were a little higher. But I would have to get the statistics, but I could get them for you.
Yeah.
I could get them for
Be
you.
interested in that. Is that something that you think is unique here, or is that a problem?
Across the board.
Across the board.
Across the board. I say it all the time. I tell you, for a city this size and what we're doing, I know if you're victimized, you believe crime's on the rise because it happened to you. Unfortunately, crime, I'm going to tell you, in the city is not, there's not that much crime compared to other areas. We work very hard to police the city, and we address every issue that's been spoken tonight. Nothing was a surprise to me. Everything that was spoken tonight has been addressed, has been watched. Our pop officer has been in that golf course and down and talking to everybody. You know, crime happens. It shouldn't be, you know, like they used to tell you in the Army, you know, there's things that are acceptable loss. Well, there shouldn't be no acceptable loss, so we don't think anything's acceptable, and we'll address it all the time. And we'll continue to address it, but unfortunately, crime does happen, and I would believe if you're a victim of crime, you would think it's on the rise, and I could understand that, and I'm sorry that anybody has to be victimized, and we take it very serious, and we're going to address it very seriously. And yeah, I couldn't believe that when I saw it too, but there was, you know, it was. They came once, and they came back, you know, and took the second car, and yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And, but no matter, if we had double the police officers we had here, I don't know if that would have stopped that. I mean, it's, all we could do is definitely, I want more police officers, but we're doing, our department is doing I believe, a very well job policing this city. And if you know any time, you could talk about us, our staffing levels or anything, but count the police officers, the police cars you see in the city at any day. There's a whole bunch of them, and they're here all the time. All the time. So if anybody thinks that there's only a limited amount, at any given time, you're seeing plenty of police cars, and they're not the same ones. So we're staffing the city very well.
Thank you, Cap. I think we're all in agreement. We'd like to see more officers if we can afford it. We're working toward that.
Fire Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'll start with our operations side of the house tonight, talk about our stats. 380 calls for service here to date, 262 medical aids. We've had 4 fires, given 20 mutual aid responses to our partner city to the north. We've received 2 to the city, and of those times, 20 times that we responded, we were canceled 9 times. And we've responded to 83 miscellaneous public assist calls. A couple of significant incidents over the last few weeks. We responded to 2 different hazardous materials incident, one in the upper area of the city near L and Bryant, and then across the freeway in the area of Chestnut in the Summerwinds area. We responded to a structure fire on 7th Place this last week, and the guys got a good stop on it, knocked down, and very minimal damage to the resident, and kept it from extending into the interior of the residence. And then we've assisted UKIP on a couple of vehicle extrications and fires in their city. On the fire prevention and community risk reduction side of the house, under the direction of Deputy Fire Marshal Rodriguez, I'm happy to announce that our Fire Prevention Bureau and the guys on the engines included are out doing a very robust weed abatement campaign. They're out doing second round inspections right now. I know with the weather it doesn't seem like it, but it'll be drying out soon enough. If you take a look at the grass, it's growing. And to that note, I talked at council a couple of council meetings ago and to the public, and I spoke to the subject of from the State Fire Marshal's office regarding fire hazard severity zone mapping. And I'd like to reiterate tonight, I'll start off with the opportunity for public comment. Will close April 4th. Public comment can be made through email at fhsccomments@fire.ca.gov. I encourage council, I encourage other staff and our public to really go to that website and understand it. As the information is coming to me, your fire chief, I believe it's going to have some other implications as we grow. The public comment that I'm asking you to take a look at is regarding state responsibility area. The mapping's being changed for all the areas surrounding our city, out in the Badlands, up into the foothills. That fire mapping has changed. We're going to feel some impact, and coming down the road, the local hazard mitigation plan or the local responsibility area mapping is coming forward, and I don't want people to be caught by surprise. And that's the end of my report, pending your questions or comments.
No, sir. No, thank you very much. Thank you. Council members reporting of county and regional meetings. John?
I was not required to attend any meetings, so that'll conclude my report.
Thank you. Wendy?
Yes, on, let's see, where was I? March 8th, I was on the WRCOG Admin and Finance meeting, and it was in person. I went to Riverside, the county building over there. Basically, what we talked about was they did an update on IREN, the Inland Regional Energy Network, and then we talked about our General Assembly coming up, the Community Service Awards and nominations. We named our individual. I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to, wasn't closed session, so I'm assuming I can.
You giving us inside info?
I won't say anything yet, but They did have an individual that was really good. We're giving an award to another group and another gentleman. And the update for IREN, Casey Daly, Director of Energy and Environmental Programs, spoke about the update for the IREN, and he said that they're going to concentrate on the programs. They'll focus on the public codes and standards and education, workforce education training. And then finally, an update was presented on 4 major contracts that they did with IREN. And basically, it was a pretty short meeting, but I am supposed to be on the budget meeting too, so.
Okay.
I will have probably something to tell you every meeting.
I also wasn't required to attend any meetings, Mayor, so I have no report.
Lucky you. Okay. We'll go on to business items. Item number 9. Is that yours, Will?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. From time to time, the League of California Cities, which the City of Calimesa is a member of, asks member cities to consider resolutions taking a position on certain legislation or initiatives that come out. And so they have asked us to consider a resolution opposing the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act. That's an initiative that is qualified for the November 2024 ballot for voter consideration. The staff report provides an outline of the bill provided to us by the League. Attached to the staff report is the full text of the initiative, along with a sample opposition resolution with language from the League. Staff is requesting that the City Council discuss this item and consider whether the City Council would like to take a position on the initiative. If after the discussion, the City Council would like to take a position, staff will bring back the action that is asked by the Council at a future Council meeting. And that would conclude my presentation on this item.
Thank you. I have a slip. I'll call on her first. That's Ms. Delaney.
Well, you know what I'm going to talk about. It's like these agendas were written for me. Council, I tend not to go along to get along, and I think outside of the box. So this Initiative 21 could be used to our advantage and for community benefit. If I'm understanding correctly, this is about all of the taxes and fees we pay. This month, my water bill was $105, and my water usage was $15, so I paid about $90 in fees. The resolution says that this initiative is supported by wealthiest corporations and developers. Surprisingly, I'm agreeing with the developers. Let's let them have this initiative, and then we can set new fees and taxes for their entitlements. We could pass taxes for the entitlements our City Council gives to developers. We could tax them so heavily that developers stop asking you to comply with the benefits that benefit their portfolios. We could also have the developers pay all the staff hours that foster these entitlements through to approval, because I'm not using any of these services, and with the most recent toxic source point entitlement, it is apparent that there is bias in the process of approval, or has been, and my community's value, our health, and our quality of life aren't benefiting from the entitlements being approved. For example, the Summerwinds Ranch specific plan area was changed, and it removed so many residential amenities that had been required. This only benefits the developer's bottom line, and they save. We should have large fees for anything that takes away from the community and benefits the developer above the community. Like maybe we could make the Birchers pay a monthly fee to have their crown over our town.
Okay, discussion.
I'm actually for the initiative. I don't know if you guys know, the Howard Drivers Taxpayers Association is also for this. You know, it helps restore Proposition 13 requirements for voter approval of local taxes. And we pay quite a bit of tax here in California, if you all don't know that. I'm sure you do. They say special taxes proposed by a citizens initiative can pass with 50% plus one vote instead of 2/3. This loophole enables special interest groups to pretend to be average citizens circulating an initiative when really they're interested parties who will get all the money from the tax increase. Our initiative requires taxes that were slipped through this loophole to go back on the ballot. And it goes back to the voter. It leaves it up to us, you guys, to vote on tax raises, fees, which are basically taxes. So I tend to agree with you on this. Proposition 13 requires let's see here, where was I? Ensure transparency. This initiative will stop the abusive practice of mislabeling taxes on the ballot to fool voters into approving them. It will also stop the misspelling of taxes as fees or something else in order to evade voter approval requirements. I have more here, but does anybody else want to say anything?
How are they going to change the rewording to where people like me can understand it?
Yeah. I would like it to just be plain and simple, but
Well, yeah,
you know,
I would
they're
too.
always trying
Yeah.
to raise our taxes, so.
Go ahead, Jeff.
John.
I'll go real
John,
fast.
go ahead, and then I'll follow you.
Thank you. Overall, I don't really disagree with the intent of the law. There's just a few concerns that I had as far as the implementation and how that's going to impact our community specifically. So there's a couple things that I kind of dug through. So I'll point out, there's two specific things, one being the franchise fees. So those are, there's 5 different businesses that are paying franchise fees. That's Southern California Edison Gas Company, CR&R Sanitation, Charter Communications, and Verizon. So these are all contracts that the city has individually negotiated and receive that fee, and most of those are long-term contracts. So this initiative pass would likely reduce those fees, and so that savings would be to those large businesses, not the individual taxpayer. And secondly, if you look at our building and safety and planning and engineering fees, most of those fees that have been collected over the years, a lot of those are from development, so developers are paying a lot of those fees as they're taking up a lot of staff time to do that. And then other businesses also are going to benefit from that. So the majority of those fees, which will be, I think, reduced if this initiative passes, means that some of these other large businesses are going to be, and developers are going to be more the beneficiary, and then not so much the individual taxpayer. So those are kind of my 2 specific concerns as far as the implementation goes, and I think it's going to also cause a little bit of chaos as far as the language, the verbiage that's in there, and how those fees are going to be restructured and changed, and some of that for the staff seems a bit chaotic and a lot very labor intensive to try to reconfigure how they do that. So overall, because I see a lot of it being a savings more for these big businesses and developers, not for our individual community members, I think it's in the best interest of our community from that perspective to oppose the initiative. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Okay. Jeff?
I understand what you're saying, John, some of those concerns. I think the spirit of what this act is trying to drive home is that California voters should have the final say on any new taxes, right? It's the people that should say, and I understand that there's going to maybe be in the short term maybe some implications that might be beneficial to big business, somewhat counterintuitively. But let me just read here, just if I may, the first Section 2, Article A of the Taxpayer Protection Government Accountability Act, just so we could hear the spirit of this act. It says Californians are overtaxed. We pay the nation's highest state income tax, sales tax, gasoline tax. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, California's combined state and local tax burden is the highest in the nation. Despite this, and despite 2 consecutive years of obscene revenue surpluses, state politicians have managed to squander, oh, sorry, no, that's not in there, but in 2021 alone introduced legislation to raise more than $234 billion in new and higher taxes and fees, so on and so forth. And so I just can't oppose an act that, in the spirit of giving a voice back to the people, to oppose new and additional taxes. I think this is the kind of act and bill we should be seeing more of and be in favor of. And no bill and no act is perfect. It's going to have some weaknesses, as I think Councilmember Manley pointed out. But in the long term, I think there's more upside here. And so I would be in favor of not opposing this. I guess that would be in contra the League of California Cities.
Well, being you're a finance guru, I'd like to hear your opinions right now.
Well, I'm going to try to.
I don't want you voting one way or the other.
I don't have a vote, so.
Anyway, but,
from my perspective, I'm just looking at it just purely from the city's perspective and the city's financial perspective, and I think that there are potential for some impacts. Some of the things that Councilmember Manley pointed out. There is a question, and a lot of these things, there is some uncertainty, right? Because of, you have a law the way it's written, and then there's implementation, there's interpretation, as maybe Quinn can maybe speak to. On some of these things, there's probably likely going to be challenges in terms of how some of the language is in this bill. Mm-hmm. So how it's implemented could be a challenge. If you take the strictest interpretation on our fee side, it does become a lot harder to charge fees. We are already required to make fees reasonable to users, and they're supposed to be specific to users. So, building and safety permits, things like that, right now we're actually, we're gearing up for a fee study that the council just approved a contract for not too long ago. That could be impacted by this in terms of what the evidence that we need to approve these fees. Franchise fees is another issue that could potentially be challenged because there is language specific to usage. I think some of that language is more geared towards entry fees into like parks and things like that, but it kind of falls under that category in terms of rights to use the public right-of-way and public assets and public land. So there are fiscal impacts that could impact our city. So in terms of that, that's the extent of my comments on this, just in terms of the impacts on the city of Calimesa.
Any other comments?
I think it's going to be more of an impact on state than us. That's just my opinion. I think that we'll be okay here, and if we need to, God forbid, raise a tax, we would bring it to our people and say, hey, this is what this is going to be for. Are you for it or are you against it? And therefore you would have a say in that. I just feel like we need to start cutting back. They need to deal with the money they have. They had a surplus and now they didn't know what to do with it, and now they're running a deficit. So
I will comment also that I think that there are I think to your point, there are other cities that are going to have a much far bigger impact on this, especially cities that recently passed initiatives that don't comply with this proposed law that would be rescinded if they do not go out and try to comply with it. Obviously, we're not in that position. We have not passed any tax increases, voter approved or otherwise. So, in that perspective, the city of Calimesa is not as impacted as other cities would be. So I think that is important to point out.
Well, and I heard there is going to be a bump in a gas tax here coming in the summer, is what they're talking about. And I don't know if the gas tax has actually done anything. So, just my opinion.
We have a governor that just seems to let's just give you another tax. You know, and he's had the strength and everything else to do that without any questions, and that's a major part of the problem. You know, and it's you know, Prop 13 is very important to all of us.
Yeah.
You know, it's anyway. Somebody want to make a motion?
When do you want to make it?
Make a motion that we oppose the request by Cal Cities to I don't know, just, we're not going to oppose this initiative. I don't know. How do you want me to word that?
I would recommend that if the city council does not want to take that position, if you just want to take no position, we can just take that as direction from the council. So if you do want to take a vote on that, we can take that as direction from the council.
Okay, does the council want to take no commissioner?
I could just make a motion. I'll make a motion to take no position on initiative 21-0042A1.
Okay, Darlene, you want to take a roll call vote?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Or all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none. Okay. Scheduling of special workshops and summer meetings of the city. Is this Darlene or is this Will?
This is me. Okay. This is that time of year when we bring this report to you to make some maybe changes to our summer schedule. We need to ask for scheduling of a couple of meetings and then consideration of City Hall closure during the holiday time. I know it's kind of a ways away, but doing it now gives the staff time to plan if they plan to make trips or do anything with family on those holidays. So there's 5 things that we're asking of you this evening. One being and City Manager spoke about this a couple of meetings ago about a workshop between Planning Commission and City Council for a land use and development workshop. So we are asking approval to schedule a joint City Council Planning Commission land use and development workshop for Saturday. We want to do it on a Saturday so that there's plenty of community that can come who wants to come and learn and understand what this workshop is about. And so April 22nd, Saturday, April 22nd at 1 o'clock. And the second, we need to schedule the fiscal year budget study session that we usually do in May because we like to bring the budget to council first meeting in June. So we would like to schedule that for May 22nd. It's a Monday at 3:30 in the afternoon, which is previous practice. And then provide direction to staff for the summer meeting schedule, and I'll talk about that in just a second. Number 4, consider the closure of City Hall December 25th, which is on a Monday this year, to January 1st, 2024, returning Tuesday, January 2nd, and then also 5th, cancel the January 2nd, 2024 City Council meeting since the holidays, we're not here to put something together for that. So in the past, the summer meeting schedule, obviously we have 2 meetings per month. In the past, we've canceled the first meeting of July because typically that falls around the July 4th holiday, gives time for staff or even council to take some family time or some vacation times. And then the second Monday of August. Those are the 2 that in the past you guys have canceled. Certainly you can cancel whichever ones you would like. I would just rather you not cancel the July 17th meeting. Yeah. That's our annual public hearings for CFDs and assessments and all those things, and we have to meet county deadlines. So if we could do those, or keep them Monday, July 17th and the Monday, August 7th, because if something doesn't work out on July 17th, we might need to continue it to the 7th, and we'll still have plenty of time to get what we need to get to the county on their timeframes. So I think I covered everything. So with that, I'm available to answer any questions. And I do believe we have a speaker for this item as well.
Yeah.
I have sorry, go ahead.
Okay, we have a speaker slip on this one also, Diana Delaney.
Danae Delaney. Darlene, thank you for letting us know that we're able to come to this workshop. I will gather as many as I can to be there. I just would like to let some council members know. On 11/2/2020, one of you wanted a meeting and asked the developer for a meeting to discuss more mature trees to screen the Bircher facility. You were told by staff that the developer might be interested in a meeting but wouldn't commit to one. So having worked in the second most dangerous forest in the nation and enforcing regulations for everyone's benefit, I learned assertiveness. And that's when I would have said, not commit to a meeting, or really? Do you realize this is a discretionary approval? And now, I'm not voting on this, and I'll wait until there's language for the trees the size that I want them. They need to accommodate you. They're asking you for the favor to benefit their profit. I want you to know your place. On September 6, 2022, one of you was a little tentative and concerned that Mrs. Duvall wanted a better understanding of mitigation monitoring. Understandable. To maybe you wanted to hold the approval vote, which was a good instinct. Another thing I learned in the forest when dealing with very questionable characters and only having a radio to whack them with.
Wait a minute.
Sir.
What has this got to do with?
Sir, I'm
what's
getting to
on
that.
here? No, you're not. You're skirting the issue right now, and that just.
So I just would
This is
like,
what we're talking
so
about.
during this meeting, I would like for people to trust their instincts and then also to be assertive, because your instincts are usually correct. And I would also like to know, how is the public allowed to give input at this meeting? Is it, do we have 3 minutes? Do we get to talk with you guys? Is it an open forum? What kind of a forum is it?
I can't answer that, but generally it's been open because there will be a lot of questions.
So kind of a round table, and like you guys can answer
controlled,
questions.
yeah.
Right, of
Yeah.
course. Respectful, business-like. But we'll be able to ask questions and
Correct.
receive answers and maybe disagree or agree, that sort of thing.
Sure. You can always do that.
Yeah.
I have no problem.
It just matters that it gets heard, listened to, understood, digested, and that
Okay,
we
we're sort of done right now. Yeah.
Oh, is my time over? Thank you.
Well, you got a few seconds.
So,
No, there isn't really a time limit in this discussion, but once we start going back and forth, it goes nowhere.
well, I'm not the one going back and forth with you.
I'm done.
Great. Thank you. My time's done too.
Thank you. Okay, comments.
So we could talk. I think it's an open question how we want to plan the workshop, right? The details of it.
That's
but
coming up.
yeah. The date. I'm in favor of the dates and all the other things, Darlene, you talked about. I have one question about the summer schedule. I know we have always canceled the first meeting of July, which I think that makes a lot of sense. And you noted it's important to keep the second meeting in July, which makes sense, and the first in August. And so that means we've canceled the second meeting in August. Would it perhaps make more sense to cancel the first meeting in September? That's the Labor Day holiday anyway, instead of the second one in August, or in addition to? What's the?
That's an option, whatever council's pleasure.
It seems like Labor Day would make sense.
Yeah, because our meeting is then on Tuesday.
Yeah. But all the other points, I think, you deserve the holidays, so I have no objections to those. My one recommendation would be to perhaps take leave on the the Labor Day Monday, which would be the 4th of September, if that worked for staff. cancel that meeting. Oh, and that was the pleasure also of the council.
And if you don't mind, if we, and when you decide to make a motion, if we can take one item at a time, that'll help me.
Okay. Well, let's start off with the schedule for the joint city council meetings and planning commission. Is there any problems here?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, does that have to be a formal motion? Okay, thank you. Okay, the schedule for the 2023-2024 fiscal year budget study on the 22nd. Anybody have a problem with that?
No.
No.
Okay, all in favor then?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now comes the fun part. Provide, for what days you guys don't want to come. And it's you know, she,
Well, I wouldn't put it like that.
well, I'd tell her, if it was up to you, we wouldn't come at all. You know, then you wouldn't have anything to do, though.
Like I say, we prefer the first meeting of July, but if the council would rather cancel the second meeting, or excuse me, first meeting of September rather than the second meeting in August, or both, you know, it's up to you guys what you'd like to do. So staff is fine with
Well, we
either
could
one.
cancel both, as far as I'm concerned. What about you, John?
I think the September 4th is a good idea. It's just as far as, do we need to keep the August 21st if we're going to cancel the September 4th? Or,
We don't have to, whatever the council like. And if it comes down, we have to have a special meeting for any particular
Right.
reason, I mean,
We'll
we have
have
that
it, yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah, we'll have it.
I would only say that, you know, the 2 meetings in a row could be a challenge if we have to have some things that are, need a council approval. So you're going from August 7th all the way till,
The second
you know,
meeting.
the second, September 17th. That could have some impact on things that might have, that might be timely.
That's a good
I
point.
thought we were saving the 17th of
No,
August.
he's talking about in
September
September, the
17th.
second meeting of September.
Yeah, because if we canceled both the second August meeting and
First
the
September.
first in September, we wouldn't have a meeting from August 7th all the way to September 17th, which
I think it'll work.
is a long time.
So maybe it's either or. Does staff have a preference?
September's fine, August is fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds like no preference, so.
we'll do whatever you ask us to do.
yeah, if there's nothing special for, as far as the 21st, if we could just switch that with the 4th. And then, so I would say July 3rd and September 4th,
Yeah.
cancel those 2.
Mm-hmm. So we would have both meetings in August then, and then we would resume for the second meeting in September. So we wouldn't miss 2 in a row.
Right.
Yeah. Does that work with staff?
She's pretty easy. She has to
I
make-
have to be here, it doesn't really
She
matter.
has to make you guys happy. So, all in favor? Or you got a preference?
Do I have a preference? No. I know I'm going to be back at my son's place back east in July sometime. I
Well,
don't
shit happens,
have a
you know.
date.
Yeah. Okay. Consensus as far as,
Item 3.
okay,
Okay.
That's July 3rd and September 4th.
yeah.
Canceled.
Closure of City Hall the 5th or 25th and through the 1st, and then returning on the 2nd. Do you guys
And-
have any questions on that, or any?
I'll just make a comment that there will only be one day that staff will have to use any time other than holiday or bank time, so. It's not free, gratis, it's
Yeah.
time being used by the employees.
Anything?
Yes, sir.
No objection.
You guys all agree then?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. And then the cancellation of January 2nd?
No objections.
Huh?
That's fine.
No objections.
Okay, there you go. You got your world.
Thank you, sir.
Council members' comments and reports. John?
I have nothing further.
Jeff?
No more comments, Mayor.
Yes, I have some comments.
Thank you, Linda.
Let's see, on March 16th, I took a tour of our, the CR&R anaerobic digester. And if you guys haven't done that, that's an awesome program. I would encourage anybody to go do it. It's really, they've really done a lot. They're trying to get to zero waste. They recycle everything. Their trucks are all gas, you know, natural gas from the products that they've recycled. That's pretty cool. And then on, what was the Banning Chamber installation was just on Thursday. The mayor and I attended that. Raul Ruiz was the speaker.
I'm John.
And John, that's right, and his wife. Everybody was late because of the traffic. There was a bad accident out in Whitewater, I believe, a tragic accident. And then on Sunday, this is kind of cool, this Sunday, I attended the Ukaipa Rodeo Queen, well, it was to pick the rodeo queen for the Ukaipa Rodeo. And my granddaughter got Little Miss Rodeo Queen.
Good.
It was pretty cool. Just had to brag about that. It was very cool. And a lot of girls knew. It was just amazing to see how much they had to learn. They had pages and pages of stuff to read over and learn. And it was funny because one of the questions they asked a lot of the girls was, who is the Ukaipa mayor? And you know, it sounds like Justin Bieber, the singer. And some lady came up to me afterward and said, is that really the mayor of Ukaipa? Not the singer, but
Yeah.
no, it was neat. It was a special event at the Performing Arts Center in Ukaipa. It was very nice. That's it.
Okay, and that's, I'd like to thank again everybody for coming here. And I sort of don't understand, since to my knowledge we haven't received anything to be looked at for warehouses, and we aren't discussing warehouses, and you know, it's you know, and truck stops. I haven't seen one of those in a while. You know, matter of fact, I've never seen one here even discussed. So it's you know, there's developers want to do things, but people, when the zoning is there and that's all they can build there, you know, you have to try and make everything work for the city and for them. Now, if you want to buy the property, go for it. I already tried that. Yeah, so it's you know, and you know, you can't imagine how much property we've given to the conservations area that is now locked up and nobody can even walk on it. And more so than most cities that I know of around here. And for your beautiful state, you know, appearance, you know, when I moved here, you know, Sharondale had, I think, about 15% occupancy. You know, and there was no building behind me. I knew someday that somebody would build it, and hey, the city, bless their hearts, they changed the zoning from mountainous to some kind of wild-ass residential property, so they got all these houses now. You know, and it's so people move here thinking that it's not going to change. You're wrong. You know, we can try and slow things down, or we can try and make things work for the people. But, you know, if a guy, I can't tell somebody they can't build on their land. You know, but it has to be something that's workable. With that.
Can we comment on that?
No, we aren't commenting on anything. I get my statement, we're done. Will? People, you know, I respect you, and I don't need comments. You know, and thank you, sir. But, you know, I just told you what I thought. And it says here, council members' comments and reports. I made my comments. You guys had your chance, and I thank you for that. Now, Will?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. A couple of things to report on. In regards to the emergency repairs reported at the last council meeting on March 6th, the City Council adopted resolution number 2023-12, confirming that the public interest and necessity demand the immediate expenditure of public funds to safeguard the city's fire station rear parking lot from failure due to the recent storm events, and waiving formal notice and competitive bidding requirements. The work has been completed, and there's no need for continued action on this matter. And I will say it was just in the nick of time because we had some pretty good downpour last week, and the repairs held up quite well. So we were happy with that. Councilmember Molina asked me to pass along for the Riverside County Transportation Commission, RCTC. They voted to adopt their 2023 legislative platform, which included supporting legislation that would increase the RCTC's sales tax authority from 1% to 1.5%. Currently, Measure A is a half-cent sales tax that was approved in 1989, then renewed in 2002, and is set to expire in 2039. RCTC's legislation platform would simply allow staff to engage on legislation regarding their taxing authority. It's just really important to note on this, there is no proposal for the ballot to increase the sales tax at this time. And of course, anything that would be brought forward would require voter approval. So I just want to make that, I think that some people may have heard that and thought that, okay, that means that taxes are increasing. That's not the case. It just allows them to, there's a limit that's set by state statute of what they can ask for. They're just looking to increase that, but they're not actually pursuing any sales tax measure at this time. So just wanted to distinguish between the two of those, and she wanted me to pass that message along to the council. And that concludes my my comments.
Okay. With that, I will adjourn this till April, does that say 3rd? Yeah. Thank you very much for coming.